One of the things I love about this podcast, Dad, is I get to hear stories. For some reason, they come up in this podcast that don't come up in our normal conversation in life.
You learn a lot about me, about our family, and about
Mhm.
other stuff.
For sure. Now, I'm going to ask you. I've heard this at some point. You were one of the very first customers on Amazon. Is that right?
Okay, I am among the first.
Okay.
Who knows how quickly I got in line when they had the garage and the books selling out of the garage. I do not know, but here's what I do know. Uh, for my first 3 or 4 orders, I got handwritten notes from people in the garage.
Okay. Was Amazon like you said garage? I don't know. I don't know the history of Amazon. Are we
Yeah,
talking like
yeah,
an
yeah,
actual
yeah.
garage, like a home garage or like a storage
Mhm.
unit?
Like Bezos' garage in his home.
I didn't realize that with Amazon.
hmm They had
Okay.
three. They had 3 or 4 employees. Now, was I getting the books from the garage at the time, or did it happen a little bit later when they got a warehouse? I don't know for sure. I can tell you this: I wasn't the first, but I was among the first because it took a while to figure it out. I mean, I think I still had my AOL account back then, and so I was an early adopter. Certainly not
hmm
first, but certainly not first.
But early enough to where you got a handwritten note, a
three or
thank you
four,
note.
3 or 4 of them.
That's
Yes.
fascinating. And now look at the trajectory of where Amazon has gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
I,
Our listeners are probably like, all right, why are we talking about Amazon? Well, you came up with a pretty interesting topic for our podcast today. And the topic is this: if Amazon ran your church, what would change in 12 months?
and I'm going to let you thank our ministry partner. I'm going to let you talk about Wesley Biblical Seminary, and then I'm going to calm our listeners down.
There's a lot of questions. And it's a fun exercise today. It's an intriguing exercise. But yeah, welcome to all listeners to the Church Answers podcast. By the way, if you're not familiar with who we are, my name is Jess Rayner. I'm here with my dad, Tom Rayner, and we love talking about the local church. We love asking random questions, such as if Amazon ran your church, what would change in 12 months? And we love doing our best to answer those church questions, which is why we call it the Church Answers podcast. Welcome to all of our listeners. I do want to take a moment before we talk about this topic today and thank one of our ministry partners who's also our sponsor for this podcast. We want to thank Wesley Biblical Seminary. Here's the deal. They want to help you grow and take your next steps in your biblical education, whatever that may be, from a certificate all the way up to a doctoral degree. They have pretty much every type of degree that you could want to take, no matter where you are. And they want to help you. They are focused on developing trusted leaders for faithful churches. And so if you're thinking, oh, maybe this is the year, I don't know, do I have the time? Do I have the money? Well, Wesley Biblical Seminary answers those questions. They have a flexible online format that fits your schedule. It is affordable. They have everything that you need in order to take your next step with your biblical education. Go check them out at their website at wbs.edu. That's wbs.edu, stands for Wesley Biblical Seminary, wbs.edu. And what's so cool is that we have a partnership with them. In fact, through Church Answers University, which is just a way that we train and equip church leaders as well. Through Church Answers University, you can get 9 hours of the 37 hours for a master's.
That's
And so
amazing.
it's amazing. So this is a major jumpstart if you want to partner with us at Church Answers University, which then you can launch into Wesley Biblical Seminary and get an accredited master's degree. And so if you're interested in that, you can go check out churchanswers.com/diplomas, or you can just email. We got an email, and his name's Matt. You can email
hmm
Matt, M-A-T-T, Matt at churchanswers.com if you're interested in learning about this program through Church Answers University that gets you a pretty far reach down into your
Yeah, yeah.
life.
Let's look at this, Jess. While we're talking about Wesley, let's look at this from a pastor viewpoint. Okay, the head of your women's ministry went through Church Answers University.
Correct.
She
At my
ended up
church, yes.
at Church of Spring Hill, I should say.
Mhm.
She got a diploma in Christian ministry, which is the basic, or maybe in women's
It was
leadership.
specific to women's, yeah.
And so she got that. So she got a diploma. She went through that. Now, if she so desires, she can go to the next step and take a master's level courses and go into graduate school. And she only has 27 hours left because it's just 9 of the 36 hours, 37 hours, I think, are actually covered through Church Answers University. You save time, you save money, but you still get great biblical education.
You know what? I'm going to mention that to her next time we have our directors meeting. So that's a good idea. Thanks for sharing that. And for you listeners, that could be your path as well. So go check out those links. Go email Matt. Do what you need to do, and take that next step. All right, the topic at hand. Interesting. To use an ambiguous word. Interesting question. If Amazon ran your church, what would change in 12 months? All right, you need to put people at ease.
Rainer's a heretic. He's letting Amazon run the church. They have no theology. They have no biblical foundation. They're all about crass capitalism. What are you doing, Rainer? What do you think you're doing? Well, calm down. It's really not that bad.
You got certain preachy there. That's like almost like a preachy voice from you.
So just think about that for a moment. Can't we learn from other organizations in some of their methodology, even if we don't apply their belief system, their worldview to it? And that is the case with Amazon. We can learn a lot from Amazon without compromising an iota. There's a Greek word there, an iota of our doctrine, and learn from them how they do things as well as they do them. And so I want to focus just on a few areas that Amazon does well that maybe we can learn. And by the way, we know that Amazon is this behemoth. They're huge. And you say, how can I learn something that doesn't have a biblical foundation? How can I learn from something that's that big? I have a church running 45 in attendance. Tom, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think I can help you on this one. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say, what can we learn from Amazon that any church could do? Okay.
Right. Yeah. And this is just looking from an organizational standpoint. I get the church is unique. It's a special, to use that word, organization, and that maybe may make some people uncomfortable. It is the body of Christ. We get this, but there are some best practices that you can learn from outside the church that maybe you could bring in to help the structure and the efficiency of the church body at times. And so that really is the endeavor here. That's the practice, not to take away from anything from a biblical standpoint.
Absolutely.
Like, what if? All right. Why did you even go into this? Where's the heart behind it?
I have a heart to reach people who are not currently being reached. And part of that heart is not only sharing the gospel, not only inviting them to church, but once they take that step, often fearful step for them, how do we make certain we don't mess it up? It's part of the evangelism process. It's obviously not the totality of it, but we can mess it up at this point just with doing some things that aren't wise. And so that's my heart behind it, bringing people into the church so that they become fully devoted followers of Christ.
All right. Well, let's look at 4 things that if see this fictitious exercise. If Amazon ran your church for 1 year, what would actually change? 4 things. 1, every guest path would be mapped and measured.
Let's again be careful here. This sounds like, okay, we got some corporate lingo here. We've got a guest path measured and mapped. Tom, aren't you getting in this a little bit of overkill? Maybe so. But here's the point. In an informal way, do we really know what happens from the point someone is invited to at least the time they show up into a worship service and possibly even come to a group? Do we know what is going on? Doesn't mean that we have to have this great big dashboard with all kind of technological wizardry. It just means like we have to have an understanding of what is happening when a guest comes and makes that step toward us. Here is an example. I talk about it because I probably take a false pride in it, but I love doing the parking lot ministry at our church, Jess. I love being out there. I don't have to talk to many people. I just point them to a parking spot. But I can tell you right now, in the parking lot ministry, who has never been to church by the way they come into the parking lot.
Sure.
I mean, it is so obvious. They're looking around. They don't know where to park. There's a bit of uneasiness. I would say often, I don't have a percentage because I don't know how many don't do it. Often they'll roll down their window and they'll say, hey, where's the best place for me to park? So what I'm doing in my mind is I'm mapping those first steps. Those steps they've gotten into the parking lot. Now I know once they get into the parking lot, they're going to be greeted by our welcome team, and Amy and the team are going to do an incredible job. And then hopefully somebody will be ready to move them toward, okay, let's sit together, let's find a seat together. And that's part of the mapping process. We can do it with intentionality and informality. Amazon does it with precision and technology. We don't have to do that.
Right, right. I mean, there's just a simple, even if you're just inviting someone over to your house for dinner. I mean, you're gonna ask them, hey, here's the time. Hey, here's the address. There's this intentionality about when they attend, you're ready for them when they open up the door. That's the simple mindset of like every guest should have that pathway moving forward, just as if you're inviting someone into your home. Obviously Amazon does it to the hilt. I mean,
Yes.
they are the best at it, mapping and measuring and all that. But there's an element as part of the church family that we should be intentional about the people that we are asking to step into our church family.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's the core of it. And if you're again, we're in a new year. If you're a church leader and you don't have any type of guest pathway, I encourage you to think through that. Just think of a guest as you're pulling in your parking lot. What are all the steps they need to take to even get into the door? But then the follow up. How do you get their information? How do you thank them for coming? How do you roll out that red carpet for them?
And you're bringing up a good point. A pathway is physical to some degree. What happens when they come into the church? What happens when the car comes in the parking lot and they walk in the church? That's a pathway. But a lot of the pathway is simply providing them the next steps, talking to them and letting them know, hey, this is where we go. It's not just always a physical step or four wheels moving toward a parking space, but all of those are part of the pathway.
Yeah, how do they get connected to the church family? Those are important things to begin to think about.
Right.
If you don't have any of those steps, I encourage you to just take an hour, just write them down. Find a volunteer who can help champion it. So, all right, that was the first one. If every guest path would be mapped and measured. The second thing, if Amazon ran your church for a year, is that friction would be treated as the enemy of mission. All right, you're gonna have to break that one down. Friction would be treated as the enemy of mission.
Okay, it does sound a little convoluted. Mission is what we want to do to bring people into the church and bring them to Christ. I mean, every time at the end of our service, we are quoting directly from Matthew 9. And we're talking about going into the harvest fields. We're talking about people praying for workers into the harvest. That is our mission. Okay, if we reach them in the harvest field and they are convinced that they are going to be able to find a nice, welcoming place when they come to the church at Spring Hill, what are some things that may hinder them from doing that? That's the friction. That is the reason. I know I'm talking about myself, but I love my parking lot ministry. That is the reason I went into the parking lot ministry. I was sitting in my car during the worship service. Tom, why weren't you in the worship service? Because I've already been to the first one. I'd heard my son preach once. I'd been through the whole service. My wife wants to get 2 services. And so I said, I love him. He's my son, but I'm not going to listen to him twice. I'm going to go in the car and I'm basically work on my prayer ministry, which I do. And while I'm there, I'm starting looking around and I'm in my car and I watch cars come in and I noticed a pattern. Now, unless you knew our parking lot, this may not make a lot of sense to you, but I'll try to explain it. When people come into our parking lot, unless they know otherwise, their first turn is going to be left after they enter the parking lot.
Sure.
We call it the lower parking lot. It is just a natural turn. If you take a right, you're going to end up at the liquor store, so you can probably take a left.
Could be a natural turn as well. Anyway.
To the lower parking lot. And so I just watched it fill up quickly. The upper parking lot is closest to the building. And the one in the back is farther away, but I kept watching people turn into this. And then I saw something on multiple weeks that should not have surprised me, but it did. I watched people turn into that first parking lot on the left, could not find a place. It had no way to exit. So they had to turn around and they left. And after seeing that 3 times, I just said, if nothing else, I'm going to tell people there's another parking lot. What's the friction there? The friction is the guests did not know where to go if they had a car. That's the friction.
Right.
And there was no evil intent. There was once they got into the church building, they loved the church. But think about it, Jess. If we were losing one car a week, which I think at least one car a week, and each car had two or three people, think about the impact of the number we lost just because it didn't turn into the parking lot the right way. So
Right.
that's friction.
Yeah, yeah. So any of those things that become barriers for
Right,
people to enter into the church family,
right.
those are the things that you need to see as the enemy of mission. Those are the things that are getting in the way of people entering into the church. One thing, again, this is a small thing. I mean, we're talking very practical things. Parking lot here. Dad, I'll keep rolling with you on that.
That is not small. That is a big ministry. That is important.
It
I'm
is.
sorry.
It is. Sorry, I didn't mean to diminish what you do. I apologize for that. But we just added a tent in
Yes,
front of our entrance, and literally people came to the church because of the tent.
I've had
Um,
I've had two people tell me they didn't know that there was a church there till they saw the tent on Sunday.
yeah, which is a
Two,
whole other issue we're facing. We're in a business complex, so we need to do a better job of getting to the road, but we're getting there, and we're doing things like a tent. So it's all these things that you need to eliminate the friction for guests. Amazon does this really well. The
mhm.
third thing, as we asked the question, if Amazon ran your church for 1 year, what would change? The third thing is this: feedback would be immediate, normalized, and valued.
I will give us a sneak peek at number four. That most of the leaders should be accountable for the whole process, but really most of the members should be. And I don't necessarily consider myself a leader in the church, but I'm certainly the leader of the parking lot ministry because sometimes it's just me, and sometimes it's just me reporting to me. We have three or four of us in there, but everyone who is in a ministry position should be asking others who are coming, our people who are coming in the church, real simple questions. Hey, how'd you find out about us?
Mm.
How have you been here before? Tell me something about yourself. And I don't know if you know this, Jess, but I'm an introvert. And however, I don't mind asking a guest if they look like I can walk with them and have a brief conversation with them, what brought them to the church. And I had the opportunity of talking to a couple. You and I and Rachel and your mom talked about this couple, their guests. They've been coming for a few weeks, and it's been you can tell they're wrestling with coming to church. I'm not going to give you any more information, but they were in the parking. They came into the parking lot. I tried to get them to park in the front space. No, they wanted to go the second one. So they wanted to go the first one, not the second one. And as they were getting out, I just simply walked with them and said, "Hey, great to have you all back." And I, I just said, "How's church going for you?" That's all I asked as I walked. And their comment was, "For the first time in our lives, we feel like we are accepted at a
Mm.
church."
Mm.
Now you won't always get positive feedback,
Right.
but that was really really good feedback because they told me that the experience of the path, if you will, has been so positive that I don't think they're followers of Christ. Have not asked them a gospel question yet,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah. That feedback's super important. The good and the tough feedback. Um, I at our church, I've seen there's some things that you just get blind spots to, and
Hmm.
it's super helpful. A lot of people are afraid to receive feedback because they're afraid to see the blind spots. I think it's important to see, where things are not hitting the mark, but also celebrating when you are hitting the mark, because both of those can be good culture setters in your church. If you celebrate the things that people do well, but also then, help fix the things that aren't going well,
Exactly.
those are the things. Again, this is what you talk about Amazon. They are great about feedback and getting it on the spot, and measuring it and making it a part of the normal process. And so asking those questions, maybe people don't want to answer it verbally. We have a connect card.
Hmm.
There's a spot for you to mark information about how you heard about the church or anything else. Just
Or the
providing the pathway.
the QR code is on there too. So those who don't
Mhm.
want to touch a card or fill out something, they can do it digitally.
Right, right. So making that part of the process. And again, this is a lot of guest focused elements, making sure that the feedback is you're able to hear back from them. It's really important. All right, the fourth and final piece, as we look at if Amazon ran your church for a year, what would actually change? Leaders would be accountable for the entire experience, not just their silo.
One of the common things that we say sometimes to a fault to stay in your lane. Don't bother other people in their lane. And in church that might be don't complain about the music all the time. Stay in your lane. But there is a place to get out of your lane if it's done positively. And one of the ways that it can be done positively is to volunteer to make something better without complaining about it. For example, let's use the example of Roman. And Roman, I didn't get your permission to tell the story, so
He's a
if you're
regular listener to the podcast, I found out.
okay, well, Roman, thank you for letting me talk about you, even though I didn't ask about you. Roman jumped into the parking lot ministry, among others. He's involved in a lot of things. And one of the main reasons is because we had no staffing of the parking lot for the first service, which is lower attended than the second service. He just stepped right in. He didn't say, "Hey, dummies," or "Tom, you only got one of your two services covered." Instead, he said, "Let me do this."
Right.
And as a result, his positive experience or his positive input, he's looking at the whole church, and all he is saying is, "I want it to be better." And instead of complaining that it's not someone else should be doing it, or going to the pastor and saying, "We ought to do it, Pastor," he did it.
Yeah.
So that's one example.
Yeah, and this is super important because, again, I mean, to hit what I was saying earlier, this is a major culture issue, and the things, like, one of the things I've tried to do with our leaders, our directors at our church, is to not let them get too territorial about just a simple thing like supplies. Like, you can share things, and I, I try to create that a little bit, like, just because one ministry buys a table doesn't mean the other ministries can't use it. And so it's this mindset, because there are ministry budgets, so it's very natural, right? And people, when they spend their money, they want to use it. There are these things, and I get that, right? I know we kind of set up that way, like, here's your budget, you spend your money, and so if they spend it on something, they do want to take care of it. But it's also understanding, like, this is part of the big mission, part of the big vision. And so, small thing. Again, this is a super, super practical thing. Our women's ministry bought a coffee thing. I don't know. It keeps stuff warm. And but every ministry can use it. The women's director said, "Hey, I bought this. If you need it for anything else, it's yours."
Good.
Yeah. And so it's those things where leaders are thinking through the entire experience, not just their ministry. And so, again, Amazon thinks through the totality of the customer experience. I'm sure they have many different divisions within their company. But from a ministry standpoint, I think it's really good to build a culture of, hey, we're all working together, which means, using supplies, using facilities, doing these things that's enhancing the bigger vision and mission. I think it's really important, because that can create a source of conflict really fast.
Yep, it can. Well, again, I just want to say once more, we're not touting Amazon as the answer for churches.
Right.
We're not saying that Amazon is the panacea. We're using one aspect of what they do to say, what can we learn from them? That's it.
That's it. Fun exercise. But it's good just to think, it's really about, how are you continuing to live out your vision and mission at the end of the day? And that's reaching people and growing them and becoming disciple makers, and thinking through how you can do that effectively and efficiently. I think it's really important. So, all right, we're going to wrap this one up by once again thanking our ministry partner, Wesley Biblical Seminary. We're super thankful for them and what they do. They are, since 1974, they have been fulfilling their mission. They're focused on developing trusted leaders for faithful churches. They are fully committed to the inerrancy of Scripture and the transforming power of the Holy Spirit. And so if you've been looking to take a next step, as we talked about at the top of the podcast, in your biblical education, we encourage you right now, type it in, wbs.edu. Go see all the things they have, all the different online flexible formats they have, see the affordability, see the accessibility, see the attainability, that you can actually do this. And by the way, at Church Answers, we want to help you. If you want to get a jump start on a master's degree, go check out Church Answers University. You can go to churchanswers.com/diplomas, and we can get you 9 hours of that first 37 hours towards your master's. So email Matt, M-A-T-T, at churchanswers.com if you want to learn more about that. Well, thank you to our listeners. It's always a joy to have you on the Church Answers podcast. Hey, we'd love it if you share it, like it, comment, whatever, podcast, whether you're listening or watching. Love for you to continue to get the word out. Our heart is for the local church. Our heart is to help church leaders think, to grow, because we want to help church leaders continue to do what God's called them to do for his kingdom. So thank you so much for being with us in the Church Answers podcast. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode real soon.